Hey everyone, welcome to the KetonExpress Summit. I'm so excited to be here with you today with Megah and Matt from Keto Connect. And I want to introduce them quickly and then we'll give them a chance to say hi. But Matt and Megah they run Keto Connect, and what it is a food blog as well as a YouTube channel where they share, they run it with their two pets, Miley and Julius, right?
Yes.
What kind of pets are they? Sorry.
A cat and then a puppy.
Cat and a puppy. Oh, great. Okay, awesome. So on Keto Connect, they share recipes and videos of their own experiments and the results that they're getting with the ketogenic diet and how they're optimizing that in their own life. And I think it's awesome because they're helping so many people in the real world who are trying to apply this ketogenic diet and helping them get results as they watch them. So welcome. Thanks so much for being here, Matt and Megah.
Thank you for having us. We're excited.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so let's just get started. Why don't you guys tell us about your keto journey? Like how did you come across the ketogenic diet and why has it been such a big thing for you? Why did you decide to make it part of your lifestyle?
Yeah, well, it started, for me, I heard about the keto diet many years ago and I gave it a little bit of a try. This is before I met Megah. Mm-hmm. And, it was real hard to stick to. I definitely noticed some benefits from it, but it wasn't something I was ready for yet. Mm-hmm. And then through just trying a bunch of different diets, I've always been pretty health conscious, trying to, put on muscle, just athletic performance. Yeah. And then when I had a job, I was mainly concerned with just like productivity and mental energy and not getting tired all the time. Mm-hmm. So meeting Megah, we were always cooking, but it was not keto at first. And then I was kind of like, I want to give this a try. I think the thing that made us try it was there's this film, it's called That Sugar Film. And it basically shows you how much sugar is in all of the quote unquote healthy foods like yogurt, like orange juice, like a typical American breakfast is like 60 grams of sugar.
Which is like over the limit already, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, whoa, unknowingly I'm getting, I don't know, like 150 grams of sugar a day. If I cut that out, I'd have to imagine I would feel completely different. So I wanted to try that. We just started dating at the time, so she was just like down to try stuff because she wanted to impress me.
Yeah, that's it.
And then we started it together, and we had a lot of success. The first thing we noticed, at least me, was like the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock nap session that I always wanted to have. I didn't need that anymore. And, then we just continued cooking. But it was all keto recipes, and we were creating like cool keto recipes, trying to keto-fy traditional foods that we loved. And that just kind of led us to starting a YouTube channel, starting a food blog, and we're here now.
Oh, yeah, I love it. What a fun story. Go ahead, Megah.
Oh, I just wanted to say, so the first thing that I noticed that was different from me, from Matt on the keto diet was my menstrual cycle, like totally leveled out. I was a lot less,
hormones,
like I never,
right?
Exactly. So I wasn't bloated. I was very comfortable. And, just that in itself was enough for me to stick to the diet. Once a month, we go through the period, and having like a better, more comfortable time is really important, I feel like, for a woman.
Yeah, no, I love that you say that because I think so many women feel like they just have to be miserable. That's just the way it is, right? And it's actually not true. It's just, let's change some things, right? I love that. Good. Yeah. Fun conversation. Okay. So tell me then, like, what are some of you guys you interact a lot with your community. I love how involved you are with your community. So what do you see people who are having really good success on the keto diet, and yourselves included, what are they doing right? What do you see happening that's right?
That is an interesting question. We are real plugged in, and I really look to a lot of people for advice. There's a lot of good people doing real good things, and some common threads I notice amongst people that seem to be having a lot of success is like, more whole foods. Obviously, that's always better. Okay. Limiting the amount. So I guess it depends on like where you're coming from. If you're coming from like last night, you just got McDonald's, and now you're trying to start being healthier. The substitution foods, the artificial sweeteners, things like that, the packaged goods, that makes a lot of sense. Like that might be where you're at in this game. But
so start where you're at. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to have real good long-term success, it's a lot of just self-exploration, figuring out what works for you. And we've been doing this for 2 years now, and I think we're to the point of like, eating a lot of fat, like pretty high fat, not really shying away from it at all, which we maybe were a little bit at first. And I think a lot of people that first start a keto diet, they're not ready to make the full shift.
Yeah.
That's big because your energy levels will be a lot higher. And I think that's mostly it. We're definitely more in the realm of like lower carbs is better. That's something we've just done lately. Like we started doing 40 total carbs, maybe about 20 net carbs a day. Now we're doing like 15 or less total carbs, and we're feeling better off of that. But that's just our where we're at right now.
Right. And then I think a huge part of it with anything in life is the mindset you have. And so not letting little day-to-day things really bog you down, because it is a lifestyle. It's a long-term process. You're not going to, change 24, 30, 50 plus years of eating bad foods overnight. And so understanding that, understanding that and not like letting the scale or, other people like pressures from family to eat this and eat that get to you is extremely important in finding success on a keto diet.
Here's a big one I would say too. I notice that there's a shift where you make the shift from what can I get away with to what it like will make me feel really good. Like the people that are first starting a keto diet are always asking us like, can I have this? Can I, like all these somewhat questionable foods. When you're like, do you want that? Is that what will make you feel optimal? It's a totally different like shift in mindset. And I think that's when you start having,
once you figure that out, it becomes easy, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, very cool. So, and then you said a little bit earlier, Matt, too, like some people are afraid of, they shy away from the fat at first. Like, let's talk about that, because I think that's so fascinating, because I think it's true. Why do you think they do that? Why is it like, is it a mental shift? What is it that they have to do to kind of get that?
Yeah, there's a couple things at play. I mean, all of us growing up, we're told low fat. If you're like under the age, I guess everyone pretty much has always been told low fat is the way to go. Low cholesterol, all this type of stuff, low sodium even. Yeah. And it's tough to really like, obviously everyone's overweight now. So the dietary guidelines, they're wrong. But it's hard to really just like go totally against what the government and all these seemingly educated people are telling you. And I think there's even more at play than that. A lot of it is just like the societal norms. It's not normal, or it's not, I don't know. It's a little bit taboo to just be like indulging in animal products a lot. You're gonna have
a stick of butter, right?
Yeah. And that's another, like you really have to commit, in my opinion, to have a lot of success. I know a lot of people start doing keto, and I see all these graphics on the internet where keto apparently is like salmon, olive oil, macadamia nuts. Which it can be that, but I think really optimal keto is like a lot of animal products, a lot of meat, like fatty cuts of meat, and you just got to really commit.
Yeah, we have a ribeye almost every single night, and we feel fantastic. Like we feel better than we've ever felt. So there's no shame in eating a steak every night, and it doesn't have to be like the highest quality, right?
Not necessarily, yeah.
Exactly.
Do the best you can.
Go where you're at, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And when I went home, I went back to Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, and I ordered heavy whipping cream to put in my coffee. And the waiter was like, heavy whipping? Like he was confused. He was like almost offended. And I was like, yeah, heavy whipping cream. It's really good. You should try it. And people are perplexed at the fact that, we're living this different lifestyle, and they try to, I feel like they're like, oh, good for you. But it's very just judgmental. So I think.
Yeah, they want to bring everyone to the middle. They don't want anyone to like stray too far from normal.
So I think that's what makes it really difficult. So I think it's a big mind thing when you're transitioning to high fat.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I think that's just a fascinating thing where we're going with the information that we've been given. It's just so interesting right now. Yeah. Okay. So what are then some of the big mistakes? Like what are people doing wrong on a ketogenic diet? Because you hear, there's always that person who's like, the ketogenic diet doesn't work. I gained 10 pounds. Like, what are they doing wrong when they do that?
Yeah. So starting a keto diet, that's the starting point. That's not the end point. Yeah. Everyone, most people are under the impression, you plug in this macro ratio, 70+% fat, moderate protein, super low carb, just glide on to the sunset basically. But, that's really for us where it starts. We felt pretty good transitioning into a keto diet, but you have to approach it like it's a puzzle. Like it's not like, it's going to work for you if you figure out the right iteration of the diet for you. I think it just takes a lot of trial and error, a lot of self-experimentation. And we get a lot of questions that everyone's looking for like the exact formula, but that doesn't really exist. You have to figure that out for yourself. And the investment you have to make to figure that out is just a little bit of time. You have to view this thing as a long-term thing. So all the questions we get really stem around the person asking the question not wanting to waste time to figure these things out for themselves, where our YouTube channel is all about us wasting time to figure these things out for ourselves. And now, after 2 years, we're honed in pretty well, we think, to a good diet for us, but we would have probably thought that a year ago too. So you're always getting better.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as I mentioned before, especially for women, I find standing on the scale every day, and just people in general using the blood ketone meter overly, like overuse just day to day. Yeah. And just like getting so hung up on like what my number should be, what's optimal, what's this, what's that. And fluctuations in weight are going to happen. And just understanding that you're a human being, you drink more water one day, you eat less another day, and
stress. Yeah, exactly.
Stress, the way you sleep, your interactions with people, everything just impacts your body, and you have to have a good understanding of that. And if you don't realize that, then you're not going to find as much success, or you're going to quit ultimately.
Yeah. One other thing that makes a big difference, in my opinion, is meal timing. Figuring out, that's something that can greatly increase or decrease your calorie intake on a daily basis. Like figuring out what really works for you. A lot of people, they're on the intermittent fasting thing. They think, you eat at noon, skip breakfast, stop eating at 8. Yeah. That's the key to weight loss. For a lot of people, it seems that is a really good way to approach it. And we tried just, fitting that to our lifestyle. Didn't really fit. As of late, we're waking up, we eat breakfast as soon as we get up, and maybe we stop eating a little bit earlier. And that just, it was like night and day. Like that's just the way that we're supposed to be doing it for us.
It just changed for your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think just experimenting with meal timing a lot until you really land on something that works for you.
Oh, very cool. I like that. So do you practice intermittent fasting at all right now? Or is it just more like, well, maybe we'll do a day of that, or?
Yeah. I think both of us, we're not intuitive eaters at all. Eventually on a keto diet long enough, you want to get to the point to where you're an intuitive eater, but it's tough for most people. We don't force anything anymore. We don't strictly do intermittent fasting. We like to stop eating around 5:36 at night. And then I'll usually have my first meal at like 9-ish, 8 or 9.
So you're getting
a good fast. Yeah. It's like about 14 hours a lot of the time. Okay. And with intermittent fasting, a lot of people, I think you just have to ask yourself what your goal with this is, because I think for productivity, it helps a lot of people. But as far as just weight loss goes, it's really about trying to eat with like what lets you calorie restrict a little bit, and where you're not just overeating. I know for me, when I was doing intermittent fasting, after a couple of years, I was just jamming tons and tons of calories into the eating window, and it wasn't
it's like I'm starving now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting. Cool. Okay. So then, what are, over the last 2 years, you said you've been doing this for 2 years. What are some of the biggest breakthroughs that you've had, or the ahas, or the things that you tweaked and were like, oh my goodness, this is like, why didn't we do this? What are some of those breakthroughs you've had?
I think for me, the most recent breakthrough was this new eating window we've been doing. So like waking up and not forcing myself to wait till noon, because every single person does it, and they talk about it on Instagram, and they're like, oh, 2:30 having my first meal. And like, it's just interesting to see people kind of like bragging about it. They're like, oh, I've waited so long to eat. And it's funny to see that. But I wake up and I find that when I eat immediately, I get that out of the way, and I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat. I'm able to like productively get stuff done, and naturally I can hold off, and I eat a big meal too. I don't like to snack throughout the day. So filling yourself up shouldn't be something you fear. Like for me, putting on weight is very I've always had this, I don't want to put on weight. So I eat little bits at little times, but just eating a really hearty meal feels good.
Yeah. That's a big breakthrough for me as well. That's helped me a lot. But the biggest thing for me lately is vegetables. This is going to be a shocking one. Might not be that important, as important as we all make them out to be.
Okay. Yeah.
We've actually talked to a lot of people about this lately. There's a lot of good resources on it. There's Amber O'Hearn is a great one. Basically, the defense mechanisms of plants are built in, and when you're eating, they don't want to be eaten, basically. And a lot of people have different reactions to different types of plants. And so like I know for us, we were always doing a really, really big salad, like 10 cups of lettuce at night and stuff. And we took that out, and we've really limited our vegetable intake significantly. Like we'll maybe do some broccoli, some asparagus, things like that. We don't go for volume of vegetables as much anymore, and we feel a lot better. Definitely doing more animal products, less vegetation. It sounds like it's totally contradictory to like the current health guidelines, but that's what is working for us. That's what we've noticed a big breakthrough on.
And you're getting more than enough nutrients from meat. Yeah. As opposed to
that's what I was going to ask. What about those micronutrients? Don't you need vegetables? But you say no, you get it from the meat, the animal products. If you're eating the whole animal and not just focusing on one part of it, right?
That can be a big part of it. You probably want to get some organ meat in there if you can. We eat a lot of cod liver oil. That's how we kind of supplement that. But yeah, and then a big thing is the bioavailability is totally different with plant vegetation as it is to animal products. You're really absorbing a lot more of the nutrients from animal meat.
And then that just goes to fiber and all this, great information.
Fiber frenzy.
Right. We're obsessed with getting as much fiber as possible. We want to poop as much as possible. Like there's a lot of just excitement around that, but fiber could hinder the absorption of a lot of the nutrients.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I think opening up your mind to like these new ideas, this new research is a really good way to go about your life.
It's at least worth trying. I would say.
Right. And I love that you guys are so focused on like experimenting, try it. Let's see if it works for you. Right. Because everybody's body really ultimately is different. Right. Yeah. We have different genetics, different DNA that dictates what our body likes and what it doesn't like.
Yeah, well, we do. Actually, we just spoke to Amber O'Hearn yesterday, and she has a really good quote on this. We're more alike than we are different. And the difference, and the differences in us is just how much we can stray from optimal. So like, someone who's a really high performance athlete, they can stray really far from an optimal diet. Whereas someone who's been overweight, they're 60 years old, they haven't like exercised in a while, they need to like really get to an optimal diet. And in her opinion, it's mostly animal products would be the optimal diet. And that's an interesting take on it, I think, is we can all just vary how much we can stray from optimal.
Okay, very interesting. So opening our minds to what's out there. Very cool. All right. So what advice would you give someone who's experimenting and who's trying to get it right and trying to figure out those macros for themselves? What do you, especially when it comes to like hitting those weight loss plateaus and things, what would you recommend for them?
I think the biggest aspect that you can play around with on a keto diet is the protein and the fat. That ratio. We've tried them both. We've tried really high protein, maybe like 35 to 40% calories from protein. And we both, I think, feel a lot better when the fat is significantly higher, maybe like 80% calories from fat. So as far as if you're on a weight loss plateau, a lot of the time, I think it's really just the keto diet tends to have a lot of a lag time. So like if you're doing everything right for a week or two and you're not seeing results, that's why there's this term, the whoosh effect, people will say, is that catches up and then you'll drop a lot of weight at once. But as far as plateaus go, I mean, it could be your calories. That's what we usually say. It's probably your calories. But if you don't want to view this thing from a calorie perspective, you can just eat keto macros. Don't worry too much about calories. And over time, your body tends to regulate itself.
It'll figure it out.
Yeah, it figures it out. And then you don't have to fight with the restriction, which is where everyone fails.
Yeah. Oh, I like that idea. Did you have anything to add to that, Megah?
I did, and I lost my train of thought as I was listening.
What it really comes down to is the calories. And so this is like a point of contention in the keto community is, do calories matter? Which is, I would say, yes, of course they matter. The law of thermodynamics, that exists. But is that the best way to actually tackle the problem? It's probably not, since that's been proven over the last 30 years, eat more, move less. That doesn't really, or eat less, move more. That doesn't really work. So the best way is to just feed your body good foods. I would say probably a keto diet. And then over time, the calories just come down by themselves.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So even though it is, the ratio of calories in to calories out, calories, they're not all equal, right? Carb calories are different than fat calories.
Absolutely.
That's true too. Yeah.
And then for me, I know personally, and for probably a lot of people, stress plays a huge role in the way I sleep. If I'm more stressed, I don't look as good in the mirror, or my hair falls out more, or just everything is really impacted.
Yeah.
So I would say if someone's hitting a plateau, not to deploy any crazy tactics like a 24-hour fast or an egg fast, or just something that you're not comfortable doing just for the sake of getting through the plateau. I think consistency is key. And and so
good.
I think just deploying some crazy tactic would just add more stress to your body, and you might it could backfire essentially.
Yeah. And I think a real big thing is to look at this thing, not just as from a diet perspective, but as a holistic change to your life. Because you can't just like switch out the foods and then everything gets better. That can do a lot, obviously. But like I always say, sleep is the easiest thing to kickstart everything. If you just commit to getting a couple weeks of good sleep, you'll have more willpower. You'll be less likely to overeat. This is so true.
Yeah.
People maybe don't notice it as much, but like if you keep a sleep journal or something like that, you'll notice the days you want to overeat are always the days you get a bad night's sleep, especially drinking the previous night. And then you think you get a good night's sleep, but you actually get a terrible night's sleep. You're way more likely to overeat the next day.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love, you guys have so many good insights and tips. I'm loving them all. And then the other thing I was going to add, you kind of mentioned this just a second ago, but the protein thing, like, I think I saw a video, you guys did a video about how, eating protein actually, it turns into glucose, right? Like that's more readily than fat. So being careful with that, I mean, we'll kick you out of ketosis real quick.
Yeah. Here's the thing with that though. If you're doing a keto diet for weight loss, going high on protein is not necessarily a bad thing, because protein is very satiating, and the pathway by which protein is stored as body fat is extremely inefficient. So about 44% of the calories from protein can even get stored as body fat. And when you're trying to lose weight, inefficiency is your friend. So you might not be in the deepest state of ketosis per se, but you may be having better weight loss if you're erring a little bit higher on protein.
Right. And if you're eating minimal carbs, like you need glucose, your brain needs glucose, your body needs it to a certain extent, but it's also very demand driven. It's not supply driven. So just because I eat a lot of protein, and there's no number on extra protein or going over protein, we don't know what that is person to person. So it's not just automatically going to turn into glucose. So there's no real fear behind that, I think.
Yeah, it seems to be an unfounded fear, especially in the context of weight loss. I would say.
Okay, very cool. So if you're looking for that keto adapted state where you're in a high level of ketosis, that's where it becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah. For us, for instance, that's why we like doing more of like an 80% fat diet. Because as far as like performance, productivity, I would say that's better.
Right.
Gotcha. Good advice. Okay. Well, you guys have, we could talk for like an hour here, but I want to talk about, you have a cookbook coming out in the spring. Tell us about this cookbook. I'm really excited because we love your recipes that you're sharing.
Oh. Thank you. Talk about the cookbook.
All right. So yeah, we've been working really hard on it, and every recipe we've put in the cookbook, we love so much, and we want to just share it on YouTube immediately. Yeah. We're like, no, we got to save it. But we have different sections. So we remade everything that you would want. So takeout favorites, comfort foods. We have a whole bread section. We have a ton of amazing recipes.
It's sort of like someone who's first starting a keto diet, I would say, is the best context for the book. They want to make recipes that their family will still like. It's a lot of the things you're probably missing when first going on a keto diet. Probably not the stuff you want to be eating every day, but definitely like some good accessory foods that'll just make this diet more sustainable for the long term.
Fun stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
Mostly fun stuff.
Fun food.
I like making the fun stuff the best. We just don't like eating it all the time.
Right. Oh, very cool. Well, I'm excited. And when is that coming out?
We don't have a definitive date. We just turned it in, but spring of 2018. So soon.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody stay tuned. All right. Okay. You do have a gift for our audience. Tell us again what that is, and we'll make sure that they know where to go get that. We'll put the link here on the video page.
Perfect. It is the top 10 recipes from our food blog. And this is cool because it's basically the consensus favorites. So there's no failures in here. Sometimes you go on Pinterest, you pick out a recipe and it's not that good. It doesn't look like the pictures. Yep. All of these recipes have been tested by a lot of people. They're the highest reviewed recipes. It's 10 of them. It's just a free download of the cookbook. Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. We'll put the link here so they know where to go and get that gift. Thank you guys for sharing that. Sure. Okay, so I want to just thank you guys for being on here. Like I said, so many great insights. I think we could talk for an hour, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for joining us on the KetonExpress Summit. Watch for their cookbook coming out in spring of 2018. And I also wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you're not already, go listen to their podcast. They have such a fun, real podcast. It's called Keto for Normies. Yeah? Yep. Okay. It's in the iTunes store, on Google Play. I think you can go find it there as well. And it's really fun because it's from normal people's perspective, right? It's not super complicated. It's just in the trenches keto. So love it. All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk soon.